Welcome back to another video of Crop Walk Wednesday. This is episode 2, so basically just a crop walk every Wednesday so you people on YouTube can see how our crops are doing every week. So you join me down here in one of our fields of spring barley. This was sown in late April by an earth drill. This field was ploughed, disked once and sowed by the earth drill. The variety is Geraldine. I'll just walk down into the field a bit here and show you how it's doing. So it's over waist high, but once the heads crank back down, I'd call it waist height. So I'm going to try speed things up in this video because the last one was a bit too long, but this is how the heads are. So as you can see, they're filling away there now. Hopefully they continue to fill. That grain looks pretty nice. The heads are a decent size for the year that's in it. It's not going to break any records, but it shouldn't be too bad at all really. So that's it from the kind of conventional barley. We'll go look at the mini tilled barley here now. So I'm in our mini tilled barley now. To me it looks like this is a lot greener than that other field, but the whole way along it's kind of seemed like it's been a little behind. So I'd say this is probably, I couldn't see this be ready in less than 4 weeks, whereas the other field I'd say is about 3 weeks off, but they'll all be combined together, so we're looking at 3 or 4 weeks away. We'll just see how the next few weeks of growth goes. But mini tilled basically means it wasn't ploughed. We just disked all of this, so it was lay ground beforehand. We sprayed it off and then we disked it 3 or 4 times and then sowed it with the earth drill as well. So the same day as the other field, is just whatever way the ground was. This one hasn't grown quite as quick as the other one, but all the same it's not a bad crop of barley. In here the grain seems to be a lot nicer, just it's quite plump and decent size heads again for the year that's in, especially. This field's probably not quite as tall as the other one, but I'd say it's not far off now. Kind of just depends where you stand in the field, but this field is definitely not as thick as the other one, so I don't know, we'll see how the two fields go over the weighbridge, but other than that it's about it. So as I said, 3 or 4 weeks till this field is ready, or till all our barley's ready. We have another 4 acres of barley over on our sheep ground, but it's a bit of a trek to go over there and look at it. So we have 17 acres I think of barley to cut once it is all ready. But like in this spot I am now, it still looks very green, but sure, we'll just have to see what happens over the next few weeks. But I'm just gonna continue this on because I'm right here beside our arable silage, or a little bit of arable silage. We've got 9 acres of arable silage up on rented ground, so it's looking a lot nicer than this. This isn't even a field, this is just a wet corner. You can see I just walked straight over barley and straight into it. So it's our grass reseed, arable silage, whatever you want to call it. So you can see the oats here and the barley, and then there's a little pea plant, and then all the grass in the butt of it. So this is growing pretty nicely. It also has vetch and red clover and white clover in the bottom of it. So this will be ready to cut, I'd say. I kind of want to cut this before the winter, or not winter barley, spring barley. So hopefully it'll be ready in 3 weeks, but it depends how the peas fill now, because they're just finishing flowering, so nearly every pea plant has a pod, but they just need to fill before we can cut it. So I'll try find a nice sized pea pod here. So this is a very wet section of the field, and you can see it's not done great. Like, the grass is lovely in it, but there's also a few weeds in there, but we won't talk about that. So I don't know, maybe I shouldn't show that, but we've nothing to hide here. There's no point showing everything good because everyone's got a wet field or two, and you always have to work around it. You can't just get perfect every time. So in most of the field it looks pretty nice, and as I said, our main crop of arable silage is on rented ground and it's looking pretty well. So here's a pod in my hand now. That's a pretty small one. There's a bigger one there, and you can kind of see this one wouldn't have any peas in it. I was in here yesterday and I found a few with little peas in, but we'll just say there's no peas in them as of yet. The pods are just forming. But that's enough talking about arable silage, so we'll move on to something else now. So now I'm up here we're just walking through one of our second cut silage fields. You can kind of see it there behind me. As I said last week, one of the varieties is after shooting up and heading out, so it makes the field look very, I wouldn't say untidy, but it doesn't look as good as it is. But we probably could, people are going to say, you should be mowing this, get it down, get it gone, and to a certain extent I'd agree with that, but we're not going to ask Cullens to come down and feckin' lift 8 acres of silage because it's just not worth their time. So it's gonna have to wait for the arable silage to be ready. But like down in the butt, there's lovely leafy grass down here. It's being kind of that tall stemmy stuff is really kind of, I don't know what the word is, kind of forget about it. Like, here's the spot now where there's not much of that stemmy grass, and you can see all the leafy stuff here, and a nice bit of clover in it as well. So what we've found in recent years growing clover is P&K is very important to it. So to try and keep our clover established, we put out slurry this year where we thought the clover was struggling, and this field has always been, when it was tested, it was always low in P&K, so it got slurry there after first cut. And I'm going to go into a grazing field here now, and it also got slurry, and I'll show you the clover in that because it's a bit more obvious. There's not as much tall grass up around it. So now I'm in this grazing field I was on about. This got slurry, probably got a good 3,000 gallons of slurry when that other field did, and you can just see all the clover. Hopefully the camera picks it up, like there's some amount in it. And it's all over the field. So this just has a few heifers down there. Don't know how well the camera will pick it up, but that's all that's grazing at the minute. So we're going to try let it grow a bit, and it'll be ready for the lambs to come back to once they're weaned. So yeah, that just shows how good clover responds to slurry or P&K, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's not really fair. I should have showed you a before and after picture, because I would not have said this field had as much clover in it, but now that it's got the slurry, you can really see it's just all over the field, and it's really nice to see. So we've got that other field of clover that's going for third cut, and I kind of thought it was the only one with a lot of clover in it, but seems I'm getting proved wrong here now. So we'll go on to the maize next. So we're up here now in our open maize. As you can see, it's grown quite a bit in the last week. It's up to about head height now. It's probably average about 5.5 foot tall, because up on the bank it wouldn't be this height, but this is quite an average part of the field. There's definitely a few plants that are above my head, but it's looking pretty well now. A month ago we were kind of worried about this crop. It was struggling along, but it's not doing too bad now. So we'll go look at the maize that was sowed under biofilm. So we're now in our maize that was sown under biofilm, and as you can see, it's a good bit taller than the open maize, but you never know, the open maize might catch up. So there's 2 cobs on each plant at the minute, and I'd say if you looked hard enough you'd probably find some plants with 3, but it's not looking too bad. This is the size of the cob at the minute. Nothing special obviously, but there's a hell of a long way to go still, so that's just what it's doing this week. I'll show you again next week and you'll be able to see the growth of it in a week. But this maize definitely isn't looking too bad. I'd say it's nearly taller than our maize last year, but yeah, it's looking pretty good. Obviously cob fill very important, and there's no point having a tall crop if you've got no cobs, but yeah, that's enough for the maize this week. Well, actually, you also would have seen that little spot that I showed last week as well, where the weeds kind of took control of the open maize. So it just shows how much the maize hates competition, but it's starting to green up a bit more now, but there's still a good 2 foot between the difference in where the weeds were and where the weeds weren't. But we'll move on to our fodder beet now. So now we're in our fodder beet field. So we've 3 fodder beet fields this year, and as I said last week, one of them was sown 10 days after the other 2. So this is the one that was sown 10 days later. It's looking nice and clean here at the minute. And then these are the beets that are in it. So that's Delcante, where my foot is now, those 2. They're white beet. And then that's Bolero in the middle, the kind of orangey or yellow one. And then that's Banger, another white beet, but it's a bit more, you can kind of see the difference in the shape between those 2 white beets. That one's quite long, whereas that one's not so much. And then you come over here, and this is the beet that was sown 10 days earlier. So the one over to the right is Jammin', and we've been growing Jammin' for a good few years now, and we really like it. Then you've got Delcante in the middle, and then Bolero again over here on the left. So there's not actually a great difference between the 2 of them. There definitely, you would notice a bit of a difference, but and the tops, there probably is a bigger difference in the tops actually. They look a lot stronger, taller compared to those ones, but the only thing we have noticed this week is the tops might be gone a bit pale. You can kind of see there, I don't know if the camera would have picked it up, but they're just not as green as they were last year, and we reckon the beet might be lacking a bit of moisture, so it's using its energy to put the root down to find more deeper in the soil. So we'll see what it looks like next week, but we might have to go out and give it a foliar feed just to help it. But other than that, it's not looking too bad at the minute. So that's how the beet's looking this week, and we'll go move on to the third cut silage now. So we're up here now in our third cut silage field. So this is red clover and grass and white clover. So you can see there, it's not looking too bad. In a week the clover's really come on. Last week you might have said there wasn't as much clover in it, and now you can really see. And then you look down there and all you see is clover. So we're pretty happy with how this is looking now. Last week the clover looked a bit scorched after getting its feed of liquid N, but it's all come back now and you can see it's a lovely dark green. So this got 18 units of N after its second cut, and now it's going for third. So hopefully it'll jump out of it in the next few weeks, and it'll probably be quite a light crop if we cut it with the pit silage, but hopefully we'll get a decent crop off it for third cut. But yeah, that's how our third cut silage is looking. But that is everything for today's video, for this episode of Crop Walk Wednesday. So if you've any questions about anything in today's video, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. But that's all from me today, so I'll see you in the next one.